We discuss water, the shore, and why people are drawn to it.
Timmy, how the hell are you, pal? It's a Monday morning, and I'll explain why we're recording on Monday in just a second. But you're coming to us from the western branch of Boland and Buddies, right?
About as far west as it goes in the continental U.S. So Paul has never been to the ocean.
That is quite the experience when they see it for the first time. My nieces saw the ocean for the first time, and they were like, "Whoa!"
And Paul's
Yeah,
like,
it's very
"Can we
cool.
see Japan?" And we're like,
Not unless
not quite. Yeah, not quite, Paul.
I can see Russia from my house. Yeah, I love that. Was the best. So what was his reaction? Why has Peter seen it? Because you've been tell everybody where you're at. You're out at your family's house out in Oregon, right?
Yeah,
Visiting
yeah, out in
relatives?
Oregon. About an hour from the coast. We went to the beach for a couple days. So yeah, no, Peter's seen the Atlantic. He's been like scuba diving and all that stuff, but Paul hasn't seen
Really?
it. Yeah. With the Boy Scouts of America, John. Boy Scouts.
Hey.
They're still out there.
I know my father and my brother and my uncle, I believe, and my grandfather were Eagle Scouts. It never took for me. I mean, my personality. I'm surprised actually with your personality that it took for you. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Peter's an Eagle.
Is he? He did it. What was his final project? They usually have to do like some big final project, right?
He helped like fix pews at our church. So they sort of inventoried stuff and then got the guys together and repaired stuff at the church. And then like a year later, they stripped them out and put in new pews. So it's like, but hey.
That's awesome. Well, we did that with a playground at our elementary school when I was growing up. We helped to build this new one with the railroad ties and so forth. And apparently now they, over time, and obviously invention rolls on, time rolls on. There's nothing you can do. And I came back a couple years later, and it was no longer there. I guess the wood had rotted, so they had to put in a new plastic one, what have you. But it was much more durable and reliable and so forth. But I suppose that's the frustrating thing. It's like that old adage that if I had asked what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. There's a line in one of the movies where he said, an entire industry was put out of work by the invention of the automobile. He said, I bet you the person that made buggy whips before Henry Ford invented the automobile made the best goddamn buggy whip in the world, but it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So yeah. Well, that's cool. So he's been to the ocean, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Okay. All right.
And check this out. We went charter fishing, which I've never done.
That is cool. Did you catch anything? I caught something.
We caught like 28 fish, rockfish and stuff. It was great.
We did, and there's different things in different waters, depending on the depth and so forth. We chartered a boat. We just got back from the beach. We went on a 3-hour tour, which I kept saying, the Gilligan's Island, for flounder, which is an enormously delicious fish and also enormously ugly because they're flat. They lay on the bottom of the ocean and they're like white on the underside and completely, camouflage on the top side. So, but we were out there for 3 hours. It was my father-in-law, my son and I. So it was 3 generations. It was very cool. Unfortunately, my son did not catch anything. My father-in-law did. Even my father-in-law was like, I just want Charlie to catch something because my son's the big fisherman.
Yeah.
I did not grow up that way. He obviously got it from his grandfather, I should say, because they both love fishing. So, yeah. But anyway, that's good. That's good. And when are you coming back?
Tomorrow night. Red Eye.
Oh, okay. The reason we are recording on a Monday, which you're aware of, Timmy, and others on the podcast, I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I feel like it's necessary. I woke up yesterday. We got back from the beach on Saturday night, had a nice, easy Saturday night. It's usually one of my favorite nights of the year because as much as you enjoy being on vacation, the first night home, you sleep well, right? Like you'll maybe not tomorrow, but Wednesday night will be wonderful in terms of your sleep and relaxation and such. And had a nice night. Woke up on Sunday and had a cup of coffee as I normally do. For those of you who know me, all 12 of you listening, I am not per se a morning person. You always were, right, Timmy? Or you just sort of wake up early?
I just get up and get going. Stuff to do. It's my most effective part of the day.
Oh, there's no question. I'm not that person. Yeah. I tend to be maximize, like I'll be making stuff for dinner or whatever late at night or, for the next day and stuff. I'm much more effective. And there's probably some psychology to that, but who knows? But I woke up, had a sip of my coffee, and I knew right away my stomach was not right. So I was unfortunately under the weather most of the day yesterday. And I said to Timmy, listen, let's record first thing tomorrow because you're on vacation. I can squeeze it in on my lunch break and so forth. But it reminded me the last time I felt this way was about 6-8 years ago. My youngest is now 9 going on 10. So she was a baby, maybe 1. So this is about 8 years ago. It was Christmas Eve, and my parents had come to visit from Columbus, and they showed up on Christmas Eve. Now, why this is relevant is on the 23rd of December, the fellow had come to fix our washing machine. And in most modern architecture now, particularly in high rise, because we live in a 3-story townhome in town, they put the laundry on the highest floor because that's where the bedrooms are. They figured out, I mean, in old homes, they have it in the basement. You had to walk up the stairs. Not that these are big issues, but they put it on the 3rd floor. Well, here's a reason to be concerned. The fellow fixed or supposedly fixed our washing machine, didn't attach the hose correctly, and on the morning of the 24th, we woke up to $8,000 worth of water damage on our floor because here's how it happened. On Christmas Eve, or on my parents showed up that night. I said Christmas Eve, I'm sorry. They showed up on the 23rd, the same day the washing machine guy came. They had loaded my kids up with candy, and my son got up in the middle of the night and got sick. He was young. He was, 6 or 8 at that point. And I'm the one who has to deal with that. As tough as Katie is, she does not like vomit. No problem. I got up, I cleaned it off, I threw the sheets in the washing machine, went to bed to wake up to $8,000 worth of water damage. Now, why this matters is fast forward. We go to my sister-in-law's for Christmas dinner. So it's my parents, my family. So that's 7. My in-laws, there's 2 more. There's 9, and they have 6. So there's 15 people at this house. I wake up on Christmas morning and I drink the first sip of coffee. It's exactly how I felt yesterday, and I just did not feel well. And I didn't want to ruin Christmas, so I said I'm going to go lay down. Well, fast forward. I won't indulge all the details. But of the 15 people that were at that dinner on Christmas Eve, we must have gotten something. It might be, we were probably ahead of the lettuce curve. 12 of us got sick. My brother-in-law got so sick he had to be hospitalized for dehydration.
Wow.
We all got sick. Now, why that matters is I didn't have a washing machine, Timmy. Do you know what that's like at Christmas time to not have a washing machine? So my parents left, I think, on the 26th, and I don't think the tire marks have erased from our driveway how fast they got it. And every year we invite them, and every year they're like, "Nah, I think we'll pass." But my wife's like, "Can you blame them?" And I said, "No, I genuinely cannot." So we had $8,000 worth of water damage, which the insurance company paid for. They came, they replaced our carpets, the whole deal. It was fine. It was really, It was nice to have insurance and to be protected and such. But could you come up with a worse time to not have a washing machine with 12 people getting sick? It was just dreadful. And that's how I felt yesterday. So I knew. I was like, uh-oh. So
That's
anyway,
crazy.
I know. Hey, Timmy, why don't you give us the answer to the trivia from last week?
Okay. So after completing the 500-mile Indianapolis 500 race, what is the traditional drink now that's offered to the driver? Do you know this, John?
I do, but I won't ruin it. So why don't you tell everyone? Because this is actually a Trivial Pursuit question from the 80s. Yeah. People always get this wrong. They think it's champagne. It's not.
It's milk.
Yeah.
In the heartland. It started, I think, as sort of an advertising stunt, and then people ran with it in the 30s and 40s.
Huh. Yeah, I wonder if there's a stipulation. I'm sure there is in the rule book about what type of milk. Is it 1%, 2%?
I think you can choose. I think they
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think the driver can express them. They probably have them all on hand,
That would be kind of be cool too. It'd be like, oh, I'll have chocolate milk,
Yeah.
I love chocolate milk.
I'll have almond soy milk.
That's a University of Wisconsin professor that's asking for that, of course, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Did you know the price of milk for the longest time was fixed by how far away you were from somewhere in Wisconsin? It was a Depression era thing where your price of milk related to how far you were from Wisconsin.
That kind of that probably not exactly right, but that's probably still somewhat relevant in terms of shipping costs and such, right? Yeah. Because when I go, what I can't understand is why gas would be less expensive, but then I thought maybe it's the Great Lakes. Why gas? Every time I go visit my folks in Ohio, it's 25, 50 cents less expensive than it is here on the East Coast. Why that would be, I have no idea.
I think taxation plays a huge...
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not the actual cost of the gasoline, it's what's taxed on top.
I think that's part of it. And we have a minimum markup law in Wisconsin. So in order for big companies to not dump gas at a low price and drive the smaller people out of business, there's a minimum markup that you have to put on the price of your gasoline to keep the small people in business. So another anti-competitive government strategy.
Now, there was an article written, and I have it saved, and it's by one of my favorite writers, Andrew Sullivan, who was with Time Magazine. He's been well known throughout conservative circles. He's up there with some of my favorite authors, as you know, George Will and the like, Bret Stephens. Anyway, he wrote an article 20 something years ago now. It was right in 2004 about the case for a war tax on gas. Saying basically, and the opening line is something to the extent of, gas is too cheap. There, now that I said it, you can stop reading if you're 99% of Americans, but if you're interested, keep reading, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the basic premise was there is no what am I trying to say? Utility. There is no electricity. There's nothing that has as much negative impact on environment, on cost, on roads, on this, on that, than driving. There is something quintessentially American about the automobile, which I always respect and I always admire, but I do think people should pay more for gasoline. It's kind of like the congestion taxing that they're doing in major cities. If you intend to drive in Midtown Manhattan during peak hours, you're going to pay more. I get it.
That's why I find it disingenuous when liberals complain about the price of gas now, like especially during this Iran war, because the more expensive gas is, the less people drive, which is what you want, right? Like
I am not. I am a classic small L liberal, as you know, Timmy. And one of the things that was big during Biden's administration is they would have those little stickers with Biden's finger pointing at the cost of gas. People would put them on the gas tank and say, "I did this," right?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where those people are now. I have remained consistent throughout. I have no problem paying gas. But if you're going to make an argument that Biden is responsible for the high cost of gas, you sure as hell should make an argument that Trump is as well.
And
should you not?
But you should, if you're that ilk, you should say, and it's a good thing.
I have no problem admitting to that. Two things can be true at the same time, Timmy. I think that the cost of gas should be such that it is. But again, our country, people always talk about the public transit system in Europe. And the 26, 28 countries that make up the European Union is roughly the eastern seaboard of the United States from the Mississippi east. Mm-hmm. So this idea that they have quality public transportation, absolutely. But that's also a matter of geography.
Yes.
Right? So I recognize that. My thing that I've always said is just because the earth may not be warming because of human behavior is not a license or an excuse for you to be an asshole. Meaning there's no, to me, and I understand it, if you're a consumer and you're willing to buy it, fine, but there's no reasonable, rational explanation for wanting a Hummer. It's like an AR-15. I understand the argument for guns. I believe in the argument of self-defense. I don't in any way, shape, or form think people that are trained, that are not military, police, public safety, what have you, deserve or need to have that type of gun. Now, should they be able to get it? Of course. But I think there should be criterion for it. You have to pass the test. You have to do this. You have to do that. The same basic premise I'm saying should be true with automobiles. If you want to buy a stupid ass oversized Hummer, that's fine. But there should be some sort of built-in cost structure that benefits the rest of us, should there not? For the damage you're doing to the road, to the cost of gas, or no? Do you understand what I'm saying, Tim?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. So we're talking about the water and the beach, this vacation on this episode, and I find it so hard. You talk about holding two ideas in your head, to stand on the shore of the ocean and be impressed by its immenseness, and then simultaneously hold the idea that human action is changing the climate, the temperature of the planet.
Okay.
I can believe those things logically, but it's so hard to put those two together.
No question. And that's what we're going to talk about. We'll get into that in a second. But I think two things can be true at the same time. Conflicting ideas can still hold value.
Yeah.
And the basic premise is, okay, even if it's not 100% provable. So for instance, I'll use the O.J. Simpson analogy. Everyone who is anyone, including O.J., knows he killed his wife. He got away with it because it was not proven. Right? Simply because science is not able to prove beyond 100% doubt that human behavior is contributing to the climate being, altered, does not, to me, give you license to just do whatever you want. There has to be a happy medium between the two, is my point. Yeah. And I absolutely agree with you. To see the magnificence of the ocean, I just got back. To see the magnificence of the ocean, how wonderful it is, there's no question to me, it proves there is something beyond this life. That being said, however, I still think personal responsibility and respect for others can be part and parcel of that equation. Don't be an asshole. Don't be Coleman Sweeney, which I'll explain in a minute. So, but anyway, Timmy,
speaking of,
hold on. No, I want you to tell us your pet peeve, by the way.
Exactly.
Because we're going to do a trivia question, but we're gonna add a new segment because Timmy's kind of a curmudgeon. For those of you who listen, he's got and to be fair, I will go to bat for it. You have legitimate grievances based on your handicap and how society treats you. I get that. But what is your pet peeve this week?
So my pet peeve is, speaking of not being a jerk, is this whole backing into a parking space trend. Have you observed this, John?
Yeah.
So the backward parking.
So why is
trend,
this your pet peeve is what I'm asking. Yeah. All right. Why is this a pet peeve?
Because it is inherently inefficient. And I think, well, first of all, do you do it?
Not with any regularity. I would say 1 out of 100 times there's a necessity for it, meaning it's easier. Everybody else backed in, and I don't want to be the one that's opening the door. Do you know what I'm saying? So the cars next to me it's kind of like the unwritten rules of men's bathrooms and the stalls. Like if the first stall is used and the third stall is used, you go to the fifth, right? So if two cars so if I'm parking in between two cars that both backed in, just visually, I likely will back in. But go ahead, tell me why.
I don't think it really, it doesn't change the physics of the geometry of opening your door.
No, but it does. Oh, okay. So go ahead. So finish your pet peeve part. Yeah.
All right. So a lot of times there's actually parking lots where picture this, the parking slot is angled such that you pull in. So it is an acute angle for you to turn your wheel. You have to turn less than 90 degrees to get into the spot. Right?
Okay.
And so we'll see people who decide to turn their vehicle around more than 90 degrees, slow everybody up while they back into their spot with their with their giant vehicle. And the only reason they're at all capable of doing this is because they have backup cameras.
That back rear view cameras.
Yeah, which was designed to save children, which is fine and all, but you've got, now you use it and it's
for its unintended consequence.
Yeah, it's unintended consequence, making it inconvenient for everyone else.
So do you remember there was an ad a couple years ago near the Super Bowl, and the whole play was on the Boston accent about how he's got smart pack?
Yeah.
Hey, don't be a smarty pants. I can back in this spot, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's basically a guy pushed a button. I mean, that's got to be the quintessential for you. Like, just, are you kidding me? We can't even park our own car.
Yeah.
So,
and cars have gotten so big, and the blind spots are so big because people, want big cars, and then the federal government says your roof has to withstand a tank driving over you. So you have these giant A-pillars, and you can't even see out of your vehicle anymore. And then they've got the camera. They're like, oh, I can fix this. And then meanwhile, everybody else is waiting for you to back into your spot. Just pull in forward, people, because your choice is backing into a narrow space or backing out into an open space, right? All you have to do is look for cars.
All right. Well, all right. So let me do two things with this analogy. Number one is the law of unintended consequences. I'm going to say two words that are really going to get you fired up. Okay. Social Security. That was never intended as a retirement income for the wealthy or for people, anyone over 65.
Yeah.
The basic premise was the United States and most countries were second world countries, meaning industrial based at that point. Most people's life expectancy was, say, 65 to 70.
Yeah.
So the premise behind it was these people are unable to work physically.
Yep. So
as a consequence, we're going to have some sort of offset program, that kind of thing, right? And it has since germinated into a retirement income that everyone has, so the law of unintended consequences is alive and well. Secondarily, I happen to think that parking, one of the things, and as you know, I'm adamantly against the death penalty in nearly every case. The one that I would give is in the course of military action, like the Osama bin Laden raid. They didn't go in there with instructions to grab him and take him to the Olive Garden for dinner. Put a double tap to his head. And I'm okay with that in the actions. Okay. But people who park in handicapped spots, I think, should be eligible for the death penalty if they're not handicapped. And secondarily, have you noticed this germination of these pregnant mothers, people with expectant children, blah, blah, blah? And it's like, wait a minute. If the Equal Rights Amendment is going to mean anything, it's inconvenience as well, right? It drives me nuts. Like, it's singling out, and I'm totally cool with it. By default, I will leave the space if I see someone with children for them, but don't have a company do that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Did it actually say? Because if it says pregnant mothers, I'm fine with it. If it says birthing people, no way.
I knew you'd go down that road.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Well, Timmy, you were the one who came up with this topic for this week. Give us what the short version is, because I want to talk about this myself.
Yeah, you and I are both going to, near the ocean or the shore.
And we leave for a lake later this week.
Yeah.
So,
It just sort of musing on it, why do people do that? What does it mean for us? And I just thought it'd be interesting.
Just Americans and human beings' fascination with water. General,
yeah. So did you know that 15% of the world's population lives within 10 kilometers? That's 6 miles of the shore.
Huh.
Isn't that amazing? 4% of the land area has 15% of the people, and it's along coasts.
Well, so a couple things to this point, because once you had talked about this, it reminded me, number one, of a 60 Minutes segment that I saw a few years back, which I'll tell you about. And secondarily, it reminded me of this famous economist who deals with poverty named Jeffrey Sachs, Sachs. And I'll talk about each in turn if that's okay, and let me hear your thoughts. First of all, I think that it's important to recognize that two-thirds of the earth is water. So I think just statistically, in terms of availability, it's there. People are fascinated by it because of just all sorts of reasons. I love swimming. I love being in the water. I could live in the water. I think in my previous life, maybe I was a dolphin or something like that. My brothers always tell me that I was a grizzly bear or one of those like polar bears, not only because of my size, but because if you have an ego about yourself, have brothers. Because it'd be like, I sent them a picture of me with my son and my father-in-law out fishing on that charter boat. And my brothers respond, like my dad writes back, God, that's a great picture, have it framed. My brother writes back and says, did you put on some weight? You look chubby. Thanks, man. I have not. Actually, I'm down a few pounds, but you understand what I'm saying. So there's a 60 Minutes segment that was done on these people that do deep water diving on one breath. Have you seen this? They go as deep as they possibly can. And the idea behind it is how long can you hold your lung capacity? And they basically change the physiology of their body to prepare themselves for this. And then there's 3 criterion they have to meet. They have to come up, they have to touch something, and they have to do it in the right order because your brain begins to shut down with the lack of oxygen. But what they were talking about is just this topic about human beings' fascination with water. And one of the things that they talked about that I think has to be recognized is the amniotic fluid. And one of the reasons I say that is it's a proven fact that if a woman were to birth a child in a pool of water, that child will instantaneously or has the ability to do breaststroke naturally for up to 45 seconds. The basic idea being that human beings really are water creatures. And they talked about this and they compared it and contrasted it with running, that human beings are not per se necessarily meant to run very long distances. We are meant to flee danger in short bursts of activity. And that's part of the reason that a lot of these now HIIT trainings and so forth focus on short bursts of energy, because that's in keeping with evolution. The idea that this is how you keep fit, how you keep thin, you do short bursts of activity. Jimmy has this up in Alaska. They have the native Olympics, and it involves things like that. How do you escape from, a bear charging you and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I found it incredibly fascinating that human beings are that water driven. What's that about? I mean, you were the one who was talking about the amniotic fluid and such, and I don't want to be gross, but I mean, a human being can swim with, just innate knowledge after birth.
Well, I mean, for a little while, and there was that whole trend of underwater births. Do you remember that?
I do. I think that went the wayside with the waterbed. The waterbed was a big thing too. I think that certain things should happen. There's a great line in Seinfeld one time where he says, Jerry, where'd you get that sweater? He says, I found it in the back of my closet. What do you think? And he says, Jerry, I think that's what the back of closets are meant for. Basically saying this is the ugliest sweater I've ever seen. Put it back there, right? Yeah,
and also, if you follow the evolution line of thought, right? Human beings evolved from sea creatures eventually who wound up on shore. So I was asking my family, I'm like, there's no other medium that we spend so much time trying to adapt ourselves to. Right, you don't see people like practicing their quicksand stroke or rolling in mud, even snow and ice. Right, if we don't have pools, communities that can afford them have them, right? And then we have the shore, like there's just this this gravity towards existing and being able to survive in water. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, and there's actually books about this. There's what happened to the bowling league. I think it's Adam Putnam that wrote
Bowling
it.
Alone, or
Bowling Alone, right? And it's basically the premise, and they talk about that as well. Community-based centers with pools and such. It's a draw. I mean, just think of how valuable the real estate would be in New York City alone if they were to convert Central Park, which has lots of lakes and little things and so forth, into into apartments. It would sell within 10 minutes, right? But they've made the I guess societal decision, right? There's a cost. People love water parks, love going to parks and outdoor spaces and water and so forth. And I love, and it's ironic, Pete, that you mentioned this, because I like the ocean. I love lakes. And both are types of water. I think more of the reason is based on the economic development that follows it, as opposed to the body of water. I like the water all the same. Maybe salt water not as much, but salt water has more benefits than right. But like when I go to the beach, Katie and my girls, they love the beach. I enjoy the beach. I do. I will never say no. These are distinctly first world problems. But given the choice between going to a lake versus going to the ocean, I'm going to choose the former, not the latter. Part of it is because when you go to the beach, there's so many people. There's so much development. There's flamingos and miniature golf and so forth. I'm in the anomaly here, though. How do you feel? I mean, are you more of a lake guy? I mean, you live basically divided between two lakes, right? Madison is two lakes, and there's the land right in between.
Yeah, well, my grandparents and families from northern lower Michigan, so the lake was the shore for me. Like, so I naturally
people don't know that, and it's brackish water too, isn't it? Isn't it part salt water or no?
No, it's pretty clear. It's fresh water. Yeah, so
okay. No, I mean, and you have waves in the Great Lakes. I mean, full on waves and ships and
and real sand, and you don't go out there any distance in something that isn't designed to handle rough water. So,
right.
Yeah.
But I was talking earlier about Jeffrey Sachs, Sachs, for those who want to read about him. He's an award-winning economist and development expert and so forth. And in essence, it says that Jeffrey Sachs emphasizes that water access and coastal proximity are very much major drivers of historical economic development, arguing that ocean and sea navigable waterways sea navigable waterway access, dramatically lowers transportation costs and boosts global trade. And regions within 100 kilometers, meaning 60 plus miles or so of the ocean, show vastly higher population densities and economic output compared to landlocked interiors. And one of the things I used to have to say is there's a movie called Blood Diamond, and it's got Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's a fabulous story. He was nominated for an award for it. It was a great performance. But they had a saying in there, that TIA, and that was, "This is Africa," meaning we've just accepted that it's just never going to get better here, these kinds of things. And unfortunately, Jeffrey Sachs has been able to point out part of the reason is they have so many landlocked countries. Yeah. There's no access to waterways. I mean, if you think about it,
and not many navigable rivers at all.
Right. I mean, if you think about history, it was Rome, on the Adriatic Sea, and it was Great Britain. I mean, and Great Britain is not exactly a large country. I mean,
and Egypt on the Nile, and the Tigris and the Euphrates and the Ganges, like all these navigable rivers too.
Right. Even if you think of China, and the access to the Pacific and so forth. But, he even goes further, and Adam Smith on The Wealth of Nations and so forth, the famous economist, he basically argues, people should do comparative advantage. People should do what they do well and then trade. And that's what Jeffrey Sachs builds on. He basically says, look, having water enables a wider market scope and division of labor than land transportation. And then the other thing is temperate zones. This is the statistics that really get me every time. Temperate zones near the sea cover just 8% of inhabited land, yet account for roughly 53% of global GDP.
Wow.
With economic densities averaging 18 times higher than non-coastal. And one of the things I always tell people is the United States, as a country, is a phenomenal country, but part of the explanation for its success, not only its people and its ingenuity, and other people have pointed out the puritanical spirit and things of this nature, is the geography of it. We have water on, two oceans on either side. We have the Mississippi River right down the middle. We have mountain ranges on either side as natural protections and barriers and so forth. If you were to draw up a geographical miracle, it would very closely resemble the United States in terms of our advantages and access to water and things of that nature.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, no, water is fascinating. I mean, and also you think about in symbol and literature, from Christian baptism, right?
Cleansing and oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then like the Greeks and the Odyssey is in the theaters now, and it's all about voyages on water and the river Styx. Like water's everywhere in our culture, our history. It's amazing.
Question for you, just on a personal parenting level. Paul Bunchu pointed this out to me one time. He said, when I was a kid growing up, I didn't have to walk around with a bottle of water at all times. You know, those big dumb cups. What is that today? Like, do you have your water? Do you have your water? Like, Katie pointed out to me yesterday because I said, what can I eat with my stomach being sick? And she said, use the Brat principle. You know, it's bananas, rice, apples, and toast. But she said, it's important. And I tell my patients this, you don't have to eat if you don't feel well. Like there's almost like an expectation you have to walk around with a bottle of water now.
Yeah, it's
Why
crazy.
is that? Right?
I don't know what that is because when we were kids, you suck it up until you find another water source. Like
or you go to your neighbor's garden hose and stick your mouth on the garden hose like a normal person.
You'd be thirsty.
Right?
Imagine that. Just being thirsty.
Do you drink 8 cups of water a day?
No. I might drink 8 cups of coffee a day.
Yeah, do you really?
I don't know. It's close to that some days.
Well, my buddy always sends me, he's like, what, if somebody tells me I have to drink 8 glasses of water, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. He's like, meanwhile, if somebody says, let's go out and have 8 beers and a couple of shots, no problem.
No problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why is this easy? I think actually the history of water access and things of that nature is something. And if you read great literature, I mean, Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn, and all these sorts of things, they're all involved sort of stories on transportation of the water.
Yeah, I mean, Huck Finn is a total. I mean, that's a story of the Mississippi and other things.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me. And one of the things that I find fascinating is, just how much of the world, and I know you like to say it's flyover country, and there is an element of truth to that. But I think part of the reason that this country has significant swaths of flyover country is simply based on geography, Timmy. Access to navigable waterways, the sea, the Great Lakes, things of that nature. I mean, there's a reason that Wyoming, to me, has the lowest population of any state in the country, and that's simply based on geography. It's not because of politics. Am I wrong?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So, what do you have? You have a whack job this week, don't you?
Yeah, and this is a whack job a little bit as a concept. So okay. So as listeners may know, I work with a seeing eye dog. He's my 4th seeing eye dog. I started getting them in around 1992.
Hold on a second. So Electra was the first one,
Vance.
and then Vance. I remember Vance. I met Vance.
Bella.
I don't think I met Bella because I remember you came to the Seeing Eye Foundation.
You saw Vance, I think, when I was.
Yeah, and I remember at that point, and that's what kind of put me on the love affair with golden retrievers because there was a golden retriever and they use those for seeing eye dogs, but it wasn't your temperament or something, right? They pair them with
the speed and the environment you're going to use them in and stuff.
But you said those are great dogs, John. I said, oh, all right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, golden retrievers.
And Hootie's my 4th, and so I've been traveling, and I had to fill out my obligatory paperwork so that the airline would permit me to have the legally allowed access. And it only took filling out a form which wasn't accessible, finding it on a website, calling an agent. Probably took like 45 minutes of my time just to fly.
And this is not the first go round. This is not your first.
No, I'm
rodeo
getting better.
with
Frankly.
I remember when you went to see your sister in Montana. You had to do and every time you tell me, you're like, got to fill out the paperwork.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people are bringing on peacocks. Yeah, as some emotional
and you'll
support.
see these yappy, obnoxious animals in the airport that like make you. I'm always like, you're making me look bad.
That's true.
And I'll go. I'll go. I've been into stores, and this is a new trend. I was just talking about this, and they'll ask me. And I think the only question you're permitted to ask legally, or without getting into hot water, is that a service animal? And you see a guy who's clearly not reading the tags on the clothes.
So is there hold on, for those of us who don't know, meaning all of us, is there a difference between a service animal and a seeing eye dog and an emotional support animal, or are they all categorized under the same umbrella?
So on the Venn diagram, seeing eye dogs are within the service animal category, which has the highest level of, basically should go where the public can go. Emotional support animals have less access. But they have access to housing.
You said they can't ask that. How do they differentiate?
They can ask if it's a service animal, which means it has public access.
Okay, and if they say no, what happens?
Then they
and they're in the airport already. What happens then?
this is like a store. So the airport might allows emotional support animals to travel, usually.
Okay. All right.
But like in a store.
But they're not technically a service.
They're not technically a service animal.
All
yeah,
right.
this is so complicated, right? And so in a store, they'll be like, is that a service animal? And it's like, he's making sure I don't run into things. I'm not reading tags. He's got this harness on his back that I'm holding on to.
And for those of you who don't know,
they have to ask. It's like, what?
Well, our lawyer got to see Timmy for the first time. We actually have a lawyer now, Timmy, don't we? We have an advertising firm and we have a lawyer.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm telling people that is our lawyer got to see Timmy the other day for the first time. And it's like, Timmy, you know he's blind, but he doesn't look. He looks, well, first of all, you had the Doc Brown haircut going, which I love, the Andy Kaufman. Yeah. So it's clear from Timmy, he looks like you are a normal human being. Yeah. Don't misunderstand. Yeah. I've known you for 30 years, so I can say this stuff. You look totally normal, but you're blind. I mean, when you see Timmy, he's blind.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know if you didn't have a service animal and you weren't standing.
Yeah.
I would dare say that. If you were sitting down and just having a conversation and just held your eyesight straight forward, it would be very difficult for me to tell anyone not knowing you that you are in fact blind. So there you go.
But it's like can't you people read between the lines and be like,
read the room.
Let me see here,
read the room.
They're nice about it, I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, good. It's like, well, why did you bother? Like, it does not help me, Or they could couple it to, is there anything I can help you with? Like they're in a store. But it's just this check the box. Let me make sure. It's this like litigiousness or the substitution of a rule for humanity. I don't know what it is, but it's a changing trend because I didn't used to get this.
No, they've gotten more difficult for you. And what makes it ironic is, I worked in the accessibility space, and the availability of accessibility has skyrocketed. I mean, the tools that you use now, when I went to see you 2 years ago.
It's amazing.
Just your iPhone versus what you did when we were friends in 1994 is incredible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be the first person to say that. And yet the expectations around society have gotten more stringent, which makes it duplicitous to me.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So that's my pet peeve. All those people, if you see a blind guy with a dog keeping him from running into things, you may not have to ask if they're a service animal. You might not. But maybe you could say, is there something I can help you with, sir? Like, try that.
I think that's basic humanity. Like, I see a woman with 3 kids and she's trying to push the stroller. I'll grab one of them. I'll say, I have 3 of my own. I know what this is like. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? But you walk. But again, there's another example you come up against. Is this creepy? Like, I want to do the right thing and help out. But I have the tendency, as you know, Timmy, to be a little bit much. So I don't want to frighten people, kind of thing. Well, Timmy, I'm reminded constantly of the goodness of humanity, and my hero this week is a group called Donate Life. And let me tell the backstory on this real quickly. So Katie worked in cardiology, as you know, and I don't want to depress people, all 42 of you listening. But, in order to get an organ donation, that essentially means someone had to die. And Katie works in pediatric cardiology. So you can imagine some young person came to an untimely death or what have you, and they have to harvest their organs. But it appears statistically, I did not know this, and my friend sent me this ad this week, which got me motivated by doing a little more research on this. I'd heard Katie tell stories of it, and I don't want to divulge too much, but you understand what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that the group that is most likely to need an organ donation is also the one that is most unlikely to be organ donors, and that is white males for some reason. They tend to be the longest on the wait list and yet the least likely to give. And so there was an ad that this group called Donate Life, they took a risk. They worked with this advertising firm, and I'll link it in the show notes. It's a story of Coleman Sweeney. It's a fictitious character, and they basically say in life, Coleman Sweeney is an asshole. But for some reason, he became an organ donor. Nobody knows why, but at the end of the day, his organs were able to save 3 or 4 different people, and they talk about it and so forth. So it's both hysterical because they talk about what a jerk he is in real life, and then he dies, and they say, hey, listen, Coleman Sweeney, you're no longer an asshole because you did the right thing. And I get people's religious scruples about donating organs and things of that nature, but I'm always reminded of that bumper sticker that says, don't bring your organs to heaven. Heaven knows we need them here. And so I would like to encourage people and people who sign up. I'm not saying that if you haven't and you have, conscientious scruples about it and such, good on you. I'm okay with that. But if you have the ability to be an organ donor, we don't know what happens after we die. I'm pretty sure that God doesn't care, though, if you have your liver in your body. That's just me. So if you could become an organ donor, and this Donate Life is my hero this week, Timmy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Organ donation is so amazing, and the things it can do, grant people extra time. Like, it's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, talk about a gift you can give somebody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to a complete and total stranger most of the time. So, and it's just ironic because the group that's most likely to need it is also the one that's most reluctant to do so.
So I was a med student, and it was a heart transplant recipient, and we got to see them, inducing the person and getting ready for surgery. And the guy's starting to get a little woozy on his, his anesthetic. And they're like, so, Mr. So-and-so, what are you going to do when you get a new heart? And he's like, well, I'm going to have relations with my wife.
Good for him.
I'm going to see the mountains. And they're like, well, which one do you want to do more? He's like, I see the mountains. So,
yeah,
hey,
I mean,
you know what? Seeing the mountains, man, it's awesome.
Yeah. The Catholic in you doesn't want to talk about that stuff, but at least he's being honest. Yeah. So I tend to, I'll leave you with this thought, Timmy. I tend to think the world would be a hell of a lot better if people were doing that more than fighting.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
yeah. Well, Timmy, great to catch up, pal. Thanks for being flexible this week, and we'll catch up next week. But for those of you listening, welcome. For those of you who have joined us new, we appreciate it. And this is John Boland signing off saying, hey, misbehave, drive fast, take chances.
And this is Tim saying, if everybody likes what you're doing, you're probably not doing anything worthwhile. Let's keep talking.